but I just think, honestly, comics, we all know it's such a great storytelling, it's such a great opportunity to reach people. And, if you can tell a story that really taps into stuff that's really happening in our lives now, but obviously do it in a way that's engaging and really brings you to places that you don't expect, I think, that's the whole beauty of what we do up here. And, I've always been attracted to working with writers and artists who like to tell stories that really reflect the times we live in, but really do it in a way that's a bit twisted and a bit offbeat. And that's sort of, all the elements that our insurgent has, antibiotic, meltdown, what happens to the world, what happens to a physician who can actually heal people, but then she decides she doesn't want to if she doesn't sort of agree with their politics or agree with their point of view. So I think it's what's so great about comics is that you can just explore storytelling in so many different ways. And what Gabriel was saying before in terms of the narrative sort of being almost a different track and what's going on within the actual stories is a great way to layer the story and in many ways we're just very different approach. So I'm not sure if I entirely answered your question, but
I think so.
Try to.
What do y'all think? It's pretty good, right?
Did you all right?
Yeah, I think it's funny, my wife is a doctor. I'm from like a family of doctors, so I'm always like, my wife was like the son that my father never had and always wanted to have. So I'm used to going to a lot of medical conventions, which one of the funny things is like, you think like they treat you really nice at a Comic-Con, and then my wife will be like, hey, we have this convention in Vegas, and do you want to come? Sure. And like, I'm like, we get invited to Comic-Con, get a hotel for free or whatever. And then like you go and you see they have like suites at the Bellagio, and like I think you're like, comics is so ghetto compared to medicine. But what's really funny is I'll have these talks. All doctors have like ideas also for stories, which is really funny. They're always like, I have an idea for you.
It is, it's amazing how many doctors are comic book fans. It really is. My brothers have told me, like, they'll say, you're really, Karen Berger's brother. I can't believe it, but it's amazing how many physicians are.
No, they're like, and they ask you to sign stuff and you're really vulnerable. Getting weighed or something, and they'll be like, here, by the way. But what I'd say is like, I think the thing that's always fascinating to me is that my wife sort of, she deals with breast cancer and pediatric cancer, which sounds very grim. She does early detection, and she comes home from work and she sees death all the time, and I'm somebody who just is terrified all the time of death. And I think part of the way that I write myself through that is to create these kind of, or work with these characters like Batman, or work with characters like that we make up in witches that sort of somehow defy the limits of conventional science, and conventional mortality somehow. And even the other night, like my son, who's 9, was having this big bout with worrying about us dying. I don't know, he went through this phase, and some kid at school had mentioned ISIS to him. He didn't understand what it was, but he was like, are they coming to our house? And I'm like, no, they're not. Like, it's just as likely that a shark would walk out of the water, come to your house here in the middle of nowhere, and just like, sharks could come out of the water. His father thing. But night after night, he would go on and on about like, oh my God, you guys are gonna die, like when are you gonna die? And it was making me very anxious also. Really on the line. And the last night, literally on the last night, my wife kept being like, you woke up again when you go in, and I went in, and I was like, he's like, when are you gonna die? And when's that gonna happen? And I was like, well, maybe they'll just make us all cyborgs and like cure it, and we'll never die, and it'll be great. And we just like kicked it down the field as far as I could. And came back in, and I was like, like going to bed. And my wife was really mad. She was just like, that was the wrong thing to do. And what was interesting to me about it is like AD is sort of the intersection of those things, where I'm always fascinated by the limits of conventional science and how close things come to being wondrous, and how you're almost able to cure these things and extend life and so on. My wife is very much about reality and about sort of accepting the fact that what makes life precious and wondrous is its mystery and the fact that it is brief. And so I wanted to do a book in this way that sort of imagined that there was a cure and was this kind of bridge to the other side where my fantasies came true, and then see the nightmare in that. So it's kind of like that. I guess if you're asking how you make a story personal, I always just sort of draw from the things that keep me up at night, and try and create a story that allows me to go to a place that either really solves those things and looks at them from a different angle, or takes me to the most nightmarish sort of version of those. It's about drilling down into the things that you're really frightened of or hopeful about, personally, whatever those things are to you, and being fearless in that regard, and sometimes in the same story.
Cool. And Marjorie and Brian,